Morning, everybody. Happy Friday. This is our final presentation. We developed an app called the NFL Pick'ems app. This is a fantasy football application for every Sunday and Monday and now Thursday. I am Chris Barkowitz. This is Jimmy, Doug, and Brian. And we're going to show us our app presentation. But before we get started and show you guys a demo, this started as a really broad idea. We wanted some kind of sports betting application. If anybody's ever touched a sports betting application, they can be pretty robust in nature. For the sake of our project and the time given to us, we narrowed it down to strictly picking games. So if you have an away team and a home team, you're going to pick a winner, and you'll get an accumulation of points, and then you're going to be playing against other members of your league to see who got more points, and then for the end of the season, there'll be rankings. So it's pretty nominal, but still pretty fun. Can be competitive, and we're going to show you a demo how we got that started.
And it's live.
And it's
live
oh yeah.
from NFL.
So we used the NFL API that gives us live feed scores. That helped us great. Actually, it was the backbone of our project because when we start talking about the database schema, our results table gets live JSON objects and it converts it into a Java object, which gives us population of our data table for results, and that's how we actually get some of our results as we go through the week. And it updates how often? Like every
time you save picks.
Every time you save a pick.
API and checks
it live. So it's pretty cool. We're going to go ahead and show you.
All right, so we're going to do a demo. Brian's going to drive through this, give us a little user experience. We are not logged in right now. This is our landing page. If we go to join view existing leagues, we see that we cannot. Bob Bobbers is a pre-made person, so we'll log in with him. Go ahead and click on Create New League. We're not going to do that. We'll just see that we can. We have a form here. We can make it public or private to create a new league. So we'll get out of there. And this is our preloaded league with nobody in there. Now Bob has the opportunity to join that league, which he will. And he's successfully added. And we see zeros for weeks 1 through 10. We are currently on week 10 in the NFL. And since we just joined, we don't have any correct answers for weeks 1 through 10. Now if we go ahead and click into this league, we can make some picks. Right, so we're going to make picks on week 1 just to show how it works. Normally you wouldn't be able to do this, but if we make picks for week 10 and look at them, we're not going to see any correct answers because week 10 hasn't happened yet. It's not going to update until Tuesday when it hits the NFL API, third-party API, and gives us the real-time, compares the scores versus the picks that we have and gives back a number correct. So we should see that there. And we see he picked 3 correct for week 1. And you can add as many users as you want. As far as we know, we haven't tried to add 1,000 into a league, and it'll sort your totals by descending order. So whoever your leader is will show up at top.
Yeah.
We can go to this. This is kind of what we just showed here. So here's how we get our real-time data. You see here, that's last night's game from the NFL API, Arizona, Seattle.
16 to 22.
16 to
If you pick
22.
Seattle, you got
So
1 point so far.
We wouldn't know the correct answers for all of our games until Tuesday.
Yeah. This is our testing. We hit our API every single time a user does anything and refreshes, but while we were testing and we wanted to make sure over and over again, so we added a couple extra functions just for ourselves.
And on an API note, we learned very expensive to buy.
Yeah.
We get 1,000 hits for free. You will burn through 1,000 very quickly. So we're not sure how close we are, but when you guys pick your projects, plan accordingly.
And
I think the API for NFL was $700 a month.
And that's kind of what turned us off to having lines and spreads and
Right.
over and under, because the actual betting API is super expensive.
Yeah. We're pretty sure that we were going to exhaust our freebies before the presentation, so we stopped clicking things about like half an hour ago. Okay, that was our demo.
Okay, I'll talk to technologies. The group before talked to this. You guys know the back-end stuff. We've got the Java, the Springs, the Gradles. The new ad for this was the front-end technologies. We got to use JavaScript, and we also use Angular. Not a lot of jQuery. And Bootstrap to design the page. Very easy to use. You guys will learn it quickly if you haven't already. Same database. We'll pop up our schema. The game is obviously the central hub. That's your game. Very simple table or very simple database. Not a lot of tables. The key here was getting the results into the result table through the API, and then populating the data in real time on the clicks. But and not a lot of complexity here. This was pretty straightforward. Once we got the results feeding in.
Yeah, the NFL, the API feeds our games each week, and then when a user makes picks, it feeds in and updates results.
So this was a little bit for how we're actually updating
the user totals. That's the league standings on there. So Mapception, we made a map of maps. So for every given user that's in the league, we go into our database and we query for what week, for each given week, we want to get the number of picks that they actually got right. And so we return that back, our maps, and then we parse it as a JSON object inside of Angular in the front.
And this code snippet, this isn't of our data transfer object, but this is how we implement it. This is something we did not know much about. We ran into an issue. Basically, our JSON objects came back, and they did not match up to our Java entities. So a pick in Java for us has a team ID, game ID, week ID. But what we were getting back was a pick object, game object, week object. So what we needed to do was make this data transfer object, go through each one and make sure that we could make that week object correspond to a week integer and use it again in the back end. So make everything match up correctly.
Some of our challenges, we had a lot more than what's showing, but we narrowed it down to some specific things. What Jimmy just talked about was the DTO, matching our JSON to get it to how it can populate our results table. So until we approached Chris and Andrew, we didn't even know what DTO was. It actually, and if you look at it, it doesn't look very robust, but it's kind of complex. But you'll probably, hopefully you don't have to use it, but we got used to it. We made about 2 or 3 of them. Mm-hmm. Feature creep, in the beginning we were very ambitious. We're avid sports bettors ourselves, but really we're not prepared to do anything like spreads or over and unders and like survivor leagues and stuff like that.
Or spend $700 a month for our
yeah.
API.
And then so we had to, by halfway through this week, we thought we were going to be done on time with time to spare. We were working on it this morning, so we did not add any more features than just picking the right teams and then totaling up the wins. Merge conflicts. We kind of coined a term called pair programming. So what happened was we were touching a lot of the same front-end files, a lot of the JS components, a lot of the HTML files, and more times than not we were having some simple merge conflicts, but it found out that the most efficient way to fix this was just to stop production, stare at the same screen together, so before people all kind of, sometimes it'd be 3 of us touching it, and we would be pair programming. And we'd just stop and we'd all look at the same file and then figure out what we wanted and then got rid of what we didn't and then we pushed again to get. So that's what we come up with pair program. We did that probably like 4 or 5 times where we just stop production and just like say, okay, what WTF, what's going on? And then this is a joke. Floating Eric syndrome. Eric is like our class morale booster. He came in our class a couple times or my room a couple times and just kind of like say, hey, you guys are doing good, but then it kind of was a distraction, so you guys not doing that. So that's it for challenges. He's a good guy, though.
And the features, we've touched on this. The betting system with a bankroll would be points because it's illegal to put the money in, but
No money.
you can convert yourselves once you create your leagues. Survivor League, it's just you pick a winner. If your team loses, you're out. Winner take all at the end. The Vegas style betting is bet against the odds. Again, touch on that. Very expensive and also was going to take a lot longer than the 10 days that we had. And to build it onto a mobile platform. The last project we worked on converted very nicely and transferred over to a mobile app. This would have taken specific mobile application development, which obviously we're not doing, so it's a future state.
There it is.
Questions? Plug your plus it in.
What was the difference between the public and private buttons?
When you create a league, you can choose to make it publicly available, so anyone who signs up can join in your league, or you can make it private and you send out an invite, and then
Just your friends.
only those who you specifically invite and give a link can get in your league.
So you have like some way to generate that link?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have, going off like the question I asked the last group, do you have any specific advice for us when we're in your shoes doing our final project?
Communicate.
Commit often.
Just be on the same page.
We- I bet we rolled back 5-6 times with JIT.
Yeah.
When we'd commit, push, pull, and all of a sudden we broke something, roll back, find out what it was, then move forward again.
It happens so quickly because you don't even know you need a file, and you'll be working over here. You think you're isolated, But you go, oh wait, I need to change this one thing. You go in and you change it in another file. He's working in it. You don't know it because he didn't say it because he just had to go change one thing. Next thing you know, you've got conflicts, and an hour later.
Yeah. Commit, lots of commits.
And with MVP, and happy path.
Yeah.
Make sure it works before you start to add on to things.
We started out with a robust idea.
Oh,
and by the
gosh.
time you got in, by Tuesday, we realized we had to skinny this thing down. But given enough time, you could do it. Just
Yeah.
you have a week to 10 days.
Yeah, I mean, write a lot of tests. Write a lot of tests, and that is you make a change, and you're focused on your one little part of your application, and so you're not thinking about some other aspect that you're not realizing when you touch this, it affects that, and so your thing works. You're like, great, I fixed it. Commit, push. Didn't realize you broke your other thing if you don't have a test.
I see a lot of that in JavaScript and Angular.
Oh yeah.
So
When you say tests, are you talking about JUnit tests?
JUnit tests.
A lot of those,
yes.
Steve.
A lot of JUnit tests. A lot of JUnit
Yeah.
tests. Yeah, it will save you so much time. Just run your button, wait for your green line. If it's good, push.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that you were talking about JUnit tests.
JUnit tests.
Yeah, we're talking about JUnit tests, Steve.
Yeah. Yeah, if you write your JUnit test, you don't have to realize that something broke, talk about it, roll back your JIT commit, and
Yeah.
rewrite something. You just see you broke it right away, change, move forward. Yeah. That's it.
All right, that's a project.